Hi there, these comments are for Mehdi, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. Excuse me, today I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is not as strong as it could be. Alright, let's take a look at your specific situation here. You've given me a lot of information here. So the more information you give me, the better I can help you. So in your situation, let's take a look at what you said, and then I can give you some comments as we go. So you say, I took a TOEFL exam around 1 year ago, and my mark was 76. So you had 18 points in the reading, 14 points in the listening, 23 points in the speaking, and 21 points in the writing. You say, when I just studied some months while being intermediate level, after some around 6 months gap without studying English, I decided to, you want to say here, give up, not gave up. You want to say, I decided to, in fact, let me go ahead and rewrite this, because you do have some language use issues. So part of it is, as you continue to get more exposure to the language, you will improve your academic English language proficiency. Let's go ahead and post your comments here. So you say, I took a TOEFL exam around a year ago. My mark was 76. When I'm going to say past perfect here, because you're talking about two different events happening in the past, and the one action occurs before the other. So when I just studied some months while being intermediate level. So here's where you want your first period, so you don't have a run-on. Then you can say, let's make this a little bit bigger. How about that? So after, I'm going to say this, after, right there, after about a 6-month gap without studying English, I decided to, you want to say here, give, because when you're using infinitives, you want to use the base form. I decided to give up everything, including jobs, money, to study for TOEFL for 5 months. Now, yesterday I took the exam, and all my dreams are in the air, including I would use a gerund after including studying at the PhD level. I studied lots of sources for listening for the most part. I would probably use a connector like this. I'm going to say, I have a fear of listening. When the listening part, probably present perfect will work better here. When the listening part begins, panic will happen because of the bad experiences that I have had with listening. Put a period here. I believe I can get a good mark on the writing and speaking. How about this? I believe I can get a good mark of 25 or more on the writing and speaking. So I believe I can get a good mark of 25 or more on the writing and speaking. You probably want to use a word like this, but with low understanding, these scores will be decreased as well. In general, I am a kind of man with low noticing. For details while studying, but in my major industrial engineering, I managed it. My main problem is I cannot concentrate well both reading and listening. When listening to speech in general, I am able to understand, but during the TOEFL, even though I push myself, I probably need to put the adverb before the verb there. So, but during the TOEFL, even though I strongly push myself into concentration, you can't use even though and but at the same time. I cannot. I'm disappointed because when using but, you have to use that to join two independent clauses together, but in your case, you're using even though, which is a subordinate adverb clause connector, so you're connecting a dependent clause to an independent clause. So even though I strongly push myself into concentration, I cannot. I'm disappointed. I do not know how to improve my mark. On the listening section, and as a result, then you say listening is the easiest one for most people, but for me, it is an unsolvable dilemma. Please help me. Yeah, it's difficult. I understand where you're coming from. Years ago, I learned Spanish, and my bachelor's degree is in Spanish at Brigham Young University. Eventually, I got my master's degree in English as a second language, and also English composition. And in my opinion, one of the most difficult things I had to do was improve my listening comprehension abilities in Spanish. That was the last thing that I felt I was doing really well with the language. So I'm kind of with you there. So your question is, I don't know how to improve my mark on the listening section, and as a result on the reading, speaking, writing sections as well. So I can tell you based on just this comment that you made that you have more problems than just listening comprehension, and all these problems are interconnected. So as you notice, you have a lot of problems with word choice and sentence structure and combining your sentences and so on. So I think a combination of your improving your vocabulary, I think that's probably one of the first things you have to do, is to improve your vocabulary skills, and that makes it easier for you to concentrate when you are reading and also listening to academic passages. there are 3 specific things that you can do that will help you. However, it's going to take you some time. Now, of course, the question here, if you want to get 25 points in all the different areas of the TOEFL exam, that means you're looking at getting over 100. And that means you're trying to go from 76 to 100, which means you you have to solve a lot of language skills, I think, before you will be able to reach that goal. So the first thing that you want to do is to get in the habit of practicing reading every day. This is important. It doesn't have to be TOEFL materials. You can read books, magazines, and newspapers. Also, stay in the habit of practicing your listening comprehension abilities. If you have English TV, you can focus on news, documentary, history, and also science programs. Now, if you don't have English TV, you can focus on, there's 3 good websites on the internet I recommend for you. Number 1 is nationalpublicradio.org. Number 2 is TED Talks. Number 3 is Randall's Cyber Listening Lab. And these 3 websites will give you some really good practice with your listening comprehension abilities. Now, to help you concentrate on both reading and listening passages, you need to get in the habit of taking notes. Your notes need to focus on the main and the most important supporting points of those reading and listening passages. Using your notes, you can do 2 things. Number 1, you can use your notes and you can write about the reading or the listening passages you're practicing. I recommend that you write 3 academic summaries each week. Each summary should be approximately 250 words. Therefore, each week, Mandy, you're writing about 750 words on the reading and the listening passages that you are practicing. This is a great start, I'm telling you. Now, the next thing. You also need to practice speaking about this information. Your speaking is good, but you can do better than 23 even. So, your goal here is to record 3 to 5 oral summaries each week speaking about the reading and the listening passages that you're practicing. And this also helps you with your language use, which you have a lot of problems with. Now, you should record your voice when you speak about these reading and listening passages. Now, in this case, I don't need to hear this. I don't need to read those academic summaries, but you should be doing these each week. The third thing is you should start going through my online TOEFL course. Because you need such a high score and you have a lot of language problems to solve, I do have some recommendations of how you can go through my online TOEFL course. Now, keep in mind that I have approximately 700 lessons, and it does take a few months to go through all the information. But for you, you will need to go through the the different lessons in my online TOEFL course in order to continue to make improvements. First of all, focus on the pronunciation, vocabulary, and the grammar lessons. That's what you want to do each week until you finish the first 3 sections of my course. And for variety purposes, you can schedule each day maybe a vocabulary lesson, a pronunciation lesson, and a grammar lesson. And do that until you finish those first 3 sections. Once you've completed the vocabulary, pronunciation, and the grammar lessons, then start working on my listening and my reading lessons. And for variety purposes, you can do the same. You can, for example, on day 1, you can do reading lesson 1, then listening lesson 1. Then the next day you can do reading lesson 2, listening lesson 2. Now remember, it's important that you master the vocabulary for sure before you start my listening and my reading lessons. Now, once you finish the reading and the listening lessons, then you go to the last 2 sections of my course, specifically the writing and the speaking areas. Again, for variety purposes, you can do a speaking lesson and then a writing lesson. Then the next day another writing lesson, another speaking lesson until you finish those. Now, as you go, you might want to set some goals, which means maybe after every 1.5 months or 2 months, you can take a full-length IBT practice test to get some feedback. So you can measure your progress. You can see where you are. Now, in order to take a full-length IBT practice test, you can go to the ETS and you can take a practice test through them, or you can take practice tests directly through my website. And I do offer, as an additional service, I do have full-length IBT practice tests. You can learn more about those once you become one of my students. Go to the 8th section of my course and you can learn about those full-length IBT practice tests. And that's pretty much it. So I think that these are my solutions for you. This will be a slow, methodical process. But remember that Rome was not built in a day. And what that means is you cannot solve all the language problems that you have in just 1 or 2 months. It may take longer than that. However, I'm very confident if you can follow my suggestions. And think of it this way. You're doing the reading and the listening practice I outlined in this video. That'll take you about an hour and a half every day. And then you start going through my online TOEFL course following the recommendations in this video. And you can study anywhere from 1 to 2 hours every day going over the lessons in my course. And you will begin to make progress. It'll be slow, but it'll be steady. And hopefully after a few months, as you begin taking those full-length IBT practice tests, the main thing is once you reach your goal of, say, 95 to 100, once you're getting pretty close to 25 points in all sections of the exam, then that tells you you are ready to take the TOEFL IBT exam. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for your comments, and all the best to your high-scoring TOEFL success.